So if you want 10% in the field, okay. 10% of everything you do could be given to those around you or left behind for those to collect, to go out and use what you have produced to create something of their own just as well, if not better. It happens. Well, I do not need 10%. This is my church. Wherever I go, to be separate from the world and its ideas as it plays here. Man's law does not define God's law. That you need to listen to. Because my church does not use the idea of money to meet you at source for grievances passing, whether it be in passing or because of something passing through this life with you in a way that you don't understand. That is a place where you go free from all the ideas that were given to you by man to learn something about yourself that isn't exactly what you are. Entirely, it is something to be worthy of a conversation. It's just you talking to yourself. But in that space, you find something connected to you, separate from this world. Certain situations, when passing and in passing, again, these grievances need a place to be aired out. If you build roadblocks in a position that is pretty straightforward and expect people not to go around, well, they'll stop because there was nowhere else to go. If they trust you that much, then you'll have a few that will break through your expectations. Not through the obstacles, but we'll go around them. Like this, you took longer, they took longer, we take longer to get where we need to go. If you just get out of the way with your ideas, God can have his, she can have his, it can have its self back because you are, it is, that is. And that is the only way to achieve your unity so that you may receive the things that you weren't getting out here in the real world. So that when you go back out into the real world, you will produce with success, be fruitful, and multiply your earnings in spirit. Ideas. Those ideas do not come back into the church at source to deal with the dead when you are with the living. You want to understand that? Wait till you're dead. And don't pay people to tell you about it because they're already dead also doing that. Money does not belong in my church. My currency is love. In my church, that is the only thing allowed. Otherwise, you block my service. That's something you will not go around in my world, because in my world, that's law. God's law. The one you forgot about, apparently. And unlike last time where I went in whipping you out of the church, I'm only kindly suggesting that you remember that event and don't let us whip you out of it again. Also, I will come back to you, the body of believers, the church, when you remember 10% belongs in the field. That's giving to others. You give one thing to God, and that is you entirely. So at the church, it's 100% of your time, because 100% of your time belongs to God, whether it's inside the church for that moment, very special and very close to the source where you have been created, by, for whom, by whom, with whom, and its connection to all things. Here, again, as you play with this world, the way it plays with you is the way we found it. The way you play with what we found is up to you entirely. If you are able to separate that from the world as you found it, you're a step closer to God and a bit closer to my church, which is where the heart is. So we keep our temple clean, because you can't charge me for that. I gave this to you with my effort. That wasn't free. However, it certainly doesn't cost you money. It will cost you your effort, your time, and our love. That's it. So when you're done with your 10% outside, you can go back to the inside where you sit with your heart always and feel good about that. You've blessed your church, your family, by doing your work, staying humble and being kind. Like always, that was the greatest commandment, divine. Not to be divided, you're unified. With that code, the golden rule, treat others as you would want to be treated. And let us do this the right way. You're not going to spend time in left field and find a right way about that. We know it's a little boring, but be careful. If you're not careful, you'll miss the pop fly because you weren't expecting it to happen. So, now that we expect the unexpected, we can do a little bit better with what we've got. I'm not going to the church with four walls outside here unless the church inside here with these quote-unquote four positions, front, back, left, and right, house my heart is clean. When that's clean, and it is, with you, it is not. Then it will be when we are and we agree. The 10% doesn't belong in the church, it belongs in the field. I'll give you 10% of what I got for you. It will go where I decide, or I will just throw it out there. God will find a way to make that work for itself to where it finds it. That's us. Now God, the source, you at source, doesn't need any of that to find you healthy without it. So if we're going to get closer to the source, you will get away from money entirely. If you're going to get as close as you want, as close as we may, and I know you need to source, then it's possible you might find yourself for long periods of time feeling a little left out because the world is blinded by an idea they thought was church. Well, now that we know that that idea is wrong, we can yell at you left field, hey, pop fly, coming your way. So you can catch this ball. Third out, great, our turn, batter up. Okay. So we're just going into the next inning. And I'm coming out with all the good stuff because that's where I found it. It's in the Bible. Money does not belong in my church. That will not bring you closer to your heart. My heart, our experience. God as you find it. Any way you find it, all things. I promise that will not bring you closer. It will only push you further away. That's why we at least keep the church, four walls outside, separate from that idea. So when you go there, it is for passing, for grievances, for things you couldn't change, you just didn't have time, things like that. Things you go to do things that are more spiritual and less of the material world. Because for whatever reason, your heart gave you purpose to find it. Going into those places to make peace with what we have. If you need to do that, great. If you don't, awesome. It's not a job. It's not something you get paid for. I guarantee if you take all the money out of the church today, you would say you don't have one. I would say, yikes. I believe you know why. Think about it. When you fix that, we'll talk. Till then, think about it. Thanks. I appreciate you. Have a good day.